that Mother's Day is every day, but for most people, this is the way that we should treat and talk to everybody. So I thank the Lord. We got the little guy playing around here too. So the children are a blessing to our lives, and they're what the Lord has sent us to rejoice our souls. Amen. So I'm going to go straight to the word. I'm not going to take too much time in case the video goes down again. So for those of you that have a Bible handy or in your hands, let's go to Ruth 1, verses 8 to 10 and verse 14. Para aquellos que tengan su Biblia a la mano, vamos a ir a Ruth, capítulo 1, versículo del 8 al 10 y el versículo 14. Amén. Lo voy a leer en inglés, en español, para que tengamos una idea de lo que vamos a hablar. Es un punto simple y un punto claro en la importancia de cómo nosotros debemos de siempre admirar el amor y los consejos de las personas. Amén. Y dice en español, I'm going to read it in Spanish first. Y Noemí dijo a sus dos nueras: andad, volveos cada una a la casa de su madre. Jehová haga con vosotras misericordia como lo habéis hecho con los muertos y conmigo. Os conceda Jehová que halléis descanso cada una en casa de su marido. Luego las besó y ellas alzaron su voz y lloraron. Y dijeron: ciertamente nosotras iremos contigo a tu pueblo. El versículo 14 dice: y ellas alzaron otra vez su voz y lloraron. Y Orfa besó a su suegra, mas Ruth se quedó con ella. In English, Ruth chapter 1, verses 8 to 10 and verse 14. And Naomi said to her two daughters-in-law, go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deals kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each in the house of her husband. So she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. And they said to her, surely we will return with you to your people. Verse 14, then they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpha, I thought it said Oprah. Orpha kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her, hung on to her. Amen. God, we thank you for this word. We thank you for the opportunity that you have given us to rejoice in your word. Learn about how wonderful you truly are and how each day you teach us and give us the understanding of your wonderfulness and your great mercy upon us. Señor, te damos gracias por tu bendita palabra. Te damos gracias porque nos has dado la oportunidad de poder adorarte y escuchar y aprender nuevamente de tus ricas bendiciones. Amén. Bueno, como ustedes saben, yo siempre me gusta buscar una definición. As you all know, I always like to find a definition of a certain word and what I'm going to speak about. So, guess what? I found the definition of Naomi, which means my pleasantness, my good thing, my enjoyable love, right? Now, en español, Naomi quiere decir mi amabilidad. La amabilidad que esa Naomi presentaba en todas circunstancias, con quien quiera que ella estaba. Ella lo hacía de una manera que verdaderamente se sentía, especialmente, voy a brincar un poco, cuando sus nueras no querían dejarlas. ¿Ok? Eso no se ve mucho, pero en este momento, como una mujer como Naomi, que fue como una madre para ella, es importante. Voy a ir un poquito atrás. I'm going to go a little bit. Let me say what I just said in English. When we could see how wonderful Naomi was when her daughter-in-laws wanted to stay with her, how she demonstrated her true love as a person and as a mother to them, that they did not want to leave her. So it's amazing. So I'm going to go back a little bit in history, and the times that this happened, it was a time where the judges were governing the area, the country there. So these are things that meant that it was kind of difficult, that it were difficult times. There were complications that were going on back and forth during those times, and they maintained themselves and willing to work and be able to do whatever they had to do. En estos tiempos eran tiempos difíciles donde los jueces eran los que estaban gobernando esa área durante ese tiempo especial. Ahora, Elimelech, que era el esposo de Noemí, las tomó a ella y a sus dos hijos, ¿verdad? Y ellos se fueron a Moab. Elimelech and Naomi, they took the two sons and they went to Moab, where their two sons got married to two Moabites, right? Se casaron con dos Moabitas, que son Ruth y Orpah, ¿verdad? Which are Orpah and Ruth, which is something that is very important because these people went there with a purpose. Now, they also, with their intention of getting what they needed and what they wanted, which was to be have work and food and be blessed always by the Lord, because that's the first thing that they always seeked. Lo que ellos siempre buscaban era ser bendecidos por Dios, y ellos buscaban donde había que comer, donde ellos podían trabajar. Pero durante estos tiempos murió Elimelech, que fue un dolor grande para Noemí. Indeed, during this time, Elimelech passed away, and there was a difficult time. But not only that, when after the two sons got married, they both passed away. Los dos hijos de Noemí también murieron. Yo no sé lo que estaba pasando en aquel tiempo, pero estaban muriendo los hombres de uno para el otro. So, yo sé que había una plaga difícil, había algo que estaba complicando. I don't know what was going on during those days. There was a plague going on that were killing, people. But in this moment, all you see is that men were dying, and it was affecting the lives of a lot of people. And it's so sad, but it is something that we have to deal with. And a lot of times we see this nowadays. Nosotros vemos esto hoy en día, que están gente que están, sin nosotros tener un entendimiento o un razonamiento por qué están pasando estas cosas. El Señor sabe por qué las cosas suceden, y por eso es que el Señor le da a ustedes el consuelo y el amor, para que ustedes reconozcan y tengan personas como Noemí que le den consuelo y la fortaleza que ustedes necesitan. A lot of times we don't know and understand why things do happen, but we have a lot of Naomis out there that give us the counseling, that gives us the love, that give us the understanding for us to continue forward, right? And these are the things that are so important. But look at this. Naomi, in her deep pain, she was willing and gave the best advice that she could give, or that she thought she could give, to her two daughters-in-laws. Noemí, a pesar de la circunstancia en la cual ellas estaban pasando y sufriendo, y en el riesgo que ella se iba a poner, ella estaba dispuesta a darle el mejor consejo que ella sentía para sus nueras. Y era que ellas se fueran a su lugar, que fueran a cualquier, a donde su madre nuevamente. So they could go back to their mothers, right? So they could be in a more safe and secure place. She told them and gave them the advice to go back. But these two women realized and knew how wonderful this woman was. And this is what is so important, because I'm going to repeat this numerous times because I want it to stick in your heads. There's a lot of Naomis out there. Hay muchas Noemís allá afuera que dan cariño, que dan amor, que dan el consejo que ellos se lo darían a sus propios hijos. Ese consejo es el que constantemente ustedes nos dan a nosotros cuando nos hablan, cuando nos aconsejan. This is the same advice that Naomi was given to these women for them to go ahead and meet up with their mothers again. This is what's so important. There's a lot of Naomis in everywhere that we go. There's a lot of Naomis that are willing to give us the advice, that are willing to give us the love, that are willing to give us the understanding so that we could continue moving forward, so that we could continue in that road of love and guidance, which is the Lord's road. This is what is important. Este amor y este consejo que ella nos da, esos son los consejos que nos animan a nosotros a seguir en ese camino donde el Señor va conjunto con nosotros, donde el Señor nos dirige. Esos son los consejos que una madre, que una buena suegra, que una mujer como Noemí nos dan a nosotros constantemente. Nos advierten, nos aconsejan, nos ayudan a continuar adelante. En los momentos más débiles de nosotros, ellos están dispuestos a sacrificarse. In the most difficult times for themselves, they are willing to sacrifice themselves, because she knew that once they both left, she was going to be left alone as an elderly woman, as a widower. This is what, as a widow, this is what is so important for us to understand. Willing to sacrifice what is going to happen to them in order to give you the best, in order to allow you to receive the best. Esto es lo importante, donde Noemí, sabiendo y reconociendo que al dejarlas ir a ellas, iba a sufrir aún más, porque ella se iba a quedar sola, como una anciana, como una viuda, sin nada y sin nadie. Mas sin embargo, ella estaba dispuesta a aceptar eso por el bienestar de Orfa y de Ruth. Eso es lo importante. Esos son los consejos que dan una persona que verdaderamente ama a uno como una madre, como una persona que verdaderamente está dedicada y está dando el amor que Dios nos ha dado a nosotros. Eso es lo importante en nuestras vidas. Eso es lo que nosotros tenemos que constantemente reconocer en todos estos aspectos. Pero por supuesto, Orfa y Ruth reconocían el gran amor que ella tenía por ellas. But obviously, Ruth and Orfa, they recognized that beautiful love that Naomi had for them. They recognized how willingful she was to be with them, how she loved them as she was their mother and they were their daughters. Not their daughters-in-law, but you could see that love and effort that she put, which is so important in our lives nowadays. Así como muchas hermanas consideran y aman a sus hijos, right? Like a lot of sisters. They love and care for their children, their young people. They're willing to give that advice like if they were their own kids. Como nosotros hemos visto y vemos esas madres y esas personas en las iglesias, esas Naomis que vienen y aconsejan constantemente. Como yo escuchaba a la pastora dándole consejo a muchos de los hermanos en la iglesia, a muchos de los jóvenes que aún en estos días ellos todavía se recuerdan y la reconocen a ella por los consejos que ella le daba. A lot of times they don't. I remember a pastor giving advice to a lot of young people and telling them, what they need to do and how to stay strong and how to keep forward. And these people to this day, they still recognize her. Some of them even call her their spiritual mother because of all the advice that she has given them. And one of the reasons why they're still serving the Lord nowadays is because of that advice that she gave, that Naomi love that she was giving, that the Lord has given them, so they could continue moving people forward, that they could continue having these people grow spiritually, maintain their salvation. Estos son los consejos de estas Noemís que están allí afuera, que están constantemente dándole a estas personas para que ellos puedan continuar creciendo espiritualmente, manteniendo su salvación, manteniéndose en los caminos del Señor. Esas Naomis son las que nosotros tenemos que pensar. Hermanos, este libro, el propósito de este libro, a pesar de que es un libro histórico, este libro, el propósito era enseñar que Jesús vino de la descendencia de David. Ese es el punto clásico de este libro. The basic point of this book of Ruth is that it was to demonstrate that Jesus came from the descendants of David. But guess what? It has so much other meanings as well. And this is so important for us to understand. Nosotros tenemos que entender todo el consejo y el concepto de la palabra de Dios. Porque Dios nos habla de mil maneras, de acuerdo a tus necesidades. God speaks to us in a million different ways according to our needs, according to what we are looking for, according to what our heart needs in order for us to continue forward. This is why it's so important and how the Lord has blessed us in so many different ways. Now, Naomi's love, Naomi's advice, ahora el consejo de Noemí y el amor de Noemí hizo algo importante. Cambió corazones. It changed hearts. And this is the advice that we constantly seek from those that truly love people. Yo siempre buscaba el consejo de estas hermanas mayores que estaban en las iglesias. I always seek the advice of these elderly sisters that were in the church, because I knew that whenever they prayed, I knew that whenever they gave me some advice, I knew that whenever they looked at me with that motherly love and wanted to give me the advice. And I am sure to this day that their prayers and their love have maintained me here today. And this is why I glorify my Lord and my God. Y mire, yo le digo una cosa, esas hermanas mayores, esas ancianas, que uno venía y las veía y le hablaban y te daban esos consejos. Y yo le digo en estos momentos que yo estoy seguro que una de las razones por la cual yo estoy aquí en estos momentos es por sus oraciones, por su amor hacia nosotros los jóvenes, que aún confundidos y perdidos hemos sentido la gracia y el amor de Dios a través de los consejos de ellas. Están las Noemís allá afuera. There is plenty of Naomis out there that are willing to give their advice. But are you willing to accept their advice? Are you willing to accept their love? Are you willing to accept everything that they are willing to give you, because they give you the advice that the Lord wants you to have? And they speak, and the Lord speaks through them. El Señor habla a través de ella para darte ese consejo que tú necesitas para que tú continúes adelante. Ese amor de Noemí tenía el mismo amor que Dios nos da a nosotros. Y esa misma oportunidad que ella le dio, ese consejo que ellas se fueran, es como si le hubiera dado el libre albedrío a nosotros. It's like giving us the opportunity to have freedom of choice. Whether we want to stay with God or we want to go and move on forward. She gave him that advice. And God today gives you the same advice. You have the right to walk away, or you have the right to follow him. And that's how the Naomis out there used to speak to us all the time, and they still do. Así de esta manera te dio el Señor el libre albedrío para escoger seguirlo a Él o aguantarte de nuevo. Nosotros tenemos la oportunidad. Esos consejos que las Noemís que están allá afuera nos dan a nosotros a través de nuestro Señor, tenemos que escucharlo, tenemos que seguirlo. Mas Ruth respondió con una mente, con una conciencia segura, que quedándose con Noemí sería el mejor bienestar para ella. Plus, Ruth recognized in a clear mind and a clear conscience, with an open heart, that the best thing for her was to stay with Naomi, because that was a person that was giving her that true love. El mejor consejo que ella podía sentir que le había dado cualquier otra persona se lo dio Noemí cuando ella decidió abandonar todo y quedarse con ella. All of these things, they go beyond a certain point. Esto cambia corazones, cambia mente. Si nosotros nos vamos al versículo 16 de Ruth, capítulo 1, versículo 16, para culminar, se lo voy a leer. I'm going to read Ruth 1:16, because I want to show you and demonstrate to you how much of a heart change she had, what she was willing to do. And this is somebody that it wasn't a Jew, that wasn't from Israel, but this is how much and how important it is that this love could really truly change your heart. I'm going to read it in English, and it says, Ruth 1:16, but Ruth said, entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God shall be my God. Ruth 1:16 dice, respondió Ruth, no me ruegues que te deje y me aparte de ti, porque a donde quiera que tú fueres, iré yo, y donde quiera que vivieres, viviré. Tu pueblo será mi pueblo, y tu Dios será mi Dios. Naomi demonstrated God's love in such a way that it changed Ruth completely. It changed Ruth in such a way, she followed her advice constantly. When she went to Boaz, what to do, to the point when they got married, to the point where they had a child, the grandfather of David. This is so amazing how all these things add up together, because God has a plan. God has you following the right road if you allow Him to get in your heart and bless you. El Señor tiene un camino, una prueba para ti, donde ella pudo demostrar que esta era lo que Dios quería. Dios tiene un plan. De este plan salió el abuelo de David. Amen. De David vino a nacer Jesús. Estos planes son cosas que Dios tiene planificado desde un principio. Por eso es que nosotros tenemos que tener en nuestra mente que un consejo que viene de Dios nos va a llevar por ese camino recto, porque Dios tiene un propósito contigo. Dios tiene un propósito en tu corazón. Dios tiene algo para ti especial. The Lord has a purpose for you. The Lord has a point for you.